Alrighty, welcome everyone. I'm Teeaboo and happy Friday. It's time for Legend of Vox Machina, episode 4. Thanks for joining me. Hope you're having a good week and moving into a good weekend. Last time on Legend of Vox Machina, some visiting foreign dignitaries arrived in Iman, and were promptly insulted and infiltrated, and their stuff was snuck into by one sneaky rogue boy. And then we got into a fight with them, which is bad for us because they are foreign dignitaries and they have diplomatic immunity.
Diplomatic immunity.
It's just been revoked.
And it hasn't been revoked yet. So, oops, we just attacked, like, some people from another nation, and they're not going to be happy about that. Also, you might have noticed there weren't really any eyewitnesses on the side of anybody else who might have seen any of this go down and might be able to back up our crazy story that these well-known dignitaries, these well-known nobles from elsewhere, from Whitestone, are, bad people. But they're very bad people. And so we're in a sticky situation. Our squad is now in trouble, and we're going to have to do something about that. So I know what happens next in the campaign, but I don't know what's going to happen next in this story, because the stuff that happens next in the campaign is predicated on a bunch of things, and it's kind of long and meandering in a weird way. It's some of my favorite moments in Critical Role Campaign 1, period. Consequences and Cows is just a bonkers episode, and I love it. But I kind of feel like we're probably going to skip most of it, which sucks, but it's okay. And it's okay because we got other stuff to do. We got more pressing things to do. We got a problem. There are bad people in this world, and they're doing bad things somewhere in Percy's home, and we're going to want some revenge. And so I think we're going to go out and seek it. But the problem remains, what are we going to do about the sticky situation that we find ourselves in? We have just been caught attacking foreign dignitaries without justification, and the person who would trust us, who we can convince, those are bad guys, we did a good thing, is charmed by them and is not going to believe us. Now, they don't know that, but we know that because we got to see Silas actually accomplish it and do it. They're vampires, or at least Silas is. Very interesting. The last episode was very fun. The fights were cool. The tension around the dinner table was very enjoyable, and I personally felt like the storytelling and the flow of things became a little bit more organic as we reached the at-table material that we've been kind of expecting, right? But I don't know what's going to happen next, and I don't know if it's going to be as fun as this one was, and all I can do is hope, and all we can do is watch it. So that's what we're going to do. But before that, as has been tradition, I'm going to go through some of the comments and talk about some stuff, as well as talking about the D&D session that I'm prepping for tomorrow. You might notice there's a mini hanging out over there. We'll talk about it in a second. So, literally in just a second, I'm going to start off with one comment, which is from Arbor Hawk, and starts off as a DM myself, can totally relate to having little to nothing prepped and being terrified way more than I would like, winky face. Oh god, Arbor Hawk, I feel that so bad. Luckily, I'm not in that situation this week because I know exactly where we're at this week. I know exactly what's going down, and honestly, on my end, it's pretty straightforward. Here's the deal. My squad has been seeking a vault full of gold for a while. They finally found it. They spent last week's episode getting into it. They got into it. They got into the vault. The doors closed behind them. There's a big pile of gold. They went, "Wee, we did it!" And then a big dragon climbs up from behind the pile of gold and goes, "Rawr." That's where we're at. So it's pretty clear what's going to happen next. They're going to fight a dragon, or they're going to try to run away and discover that they can if they want to, because that door can open. But they're probably just going to go fight the dragon. That may or may not go well for them. I'm not sure. I don't know. I've had them steamroll higher CR things, and I've had them get difficult times with lower CR things, but this is their first real dragon fight. So let's show you a mini. Cool. Dip it. Dip, stop. Doop. Yoop. Boop, bop. No! Focus. Yes, focus. So this is our dragon. Look how beautiful and spiky he is. Shout outs once again to my landlord and friend who plays with us, who painted this beast. This is a 3D printed sculpt, of course, and a gorgeous sculpt at that. Look at all those spikes. And he's gone and he's put like little bits of brushing to make them all look bony. It's a really extraordinary paint job, honestly. He even like based it out with a little bit of mossy stuff in here and stuff. It's immaculate individual scales and things. And so I keep telling this guy that he really needs to just start selling minis, but he works for a bank and he does well, so he's not looking for doing that. He just wants to keep this as a hobby. But I keep telling him like, oh my god, dude, you took a couple days to paint a mini like this. There are people who pay easily $100 for a mini painted like this. You gotta get on that painting train. But he doesn't want to. He doesn't want to monetize his hobby, and honestly, I can't blame him. Anyway, this is my red dragon. We've also got a nice big gold dragon, and we've got a little bronze dragon. We've got a smaller black dragon, and some other ones that I can play with later in the future. But for the moment, my players are going to be fighting a red dragon. This mini, size-wise, is a young red dragon. Which is about the difficulty that I want this fight to be, except that I've had them super hard steamroll monsters around that CR level because honestly, my player characters in my main campaign are pretty powerful. They're kind of decked out in magic items. Their stat lines, which they rolled for, are a little bit higher and a little bit better optimized than I expected. And just because of the way that I've like helped them, these are their first real characters for most of them. I've helped them like talk them through different options and stuff, and guided them into things that are generally more powerful. So their characters are generally more powerful. They are able to take on foes like this. Also, an important like power multiplier in a party like that is that literally every member of the party has the ability to heal. And in addition, they came into a fairly large quantity of healing potions. So it's really hard to kill any member of this party without like outright dropping them with massive damage or anything like that. So I'm not super worried about it. The problem that I'm looking at is that fights where characters are going down and coming up and going down and coming up and going down and coming up and they're just yo-yo healing end up being really sloggy and really slow. So I want this to be like a high octane battle. So my idea basically is that I'm going to run this as, and if you're a part of the Rowdy Revenant, fuck off. You're not allowed to watch this. I'm going to run this as a young red dragon, which doesn't have legendary actions or legendary resistances, etc. But I'm going to give it an adult red dragon's multi-attack, so it'll have menace like frightening presence, which is very powerful. And I'm going to give it legendary actions. I'm going to give it the option for wing attacks, so that if it gets surrounded, it can do that. And I'm going to give it the tail attack legendary action as well. And of course, it gets the detect legendary action, but that's probably not going to come up because they're like locked in a room with this thing. They're not going to be able to hide from it regardless. So I'm going to make it like a beefed up young red dragon. And I'll probably, this is evil, but I'll probably fudge the hit points on it. It'll probably start off the fight with like 190 hit points, and if it goes quickly and our paladin blasts it with like 80 HP on a crit, which is super likely from him, just given the way that my character has built out his Oath of Glory Dexidin to be a monster, and then I'll probably give it some more hit points, but otherwise, this fight, beyond me managing some, like, little bit of shenanigans behind the screen, this fight is going to be balls to the walls, them versus a dragon for the first time, and I want it to feel scary. I want this thing to be doing stuff that they've never seen before. I want it to be hitting them with, like, frightening presence, multi-attack, and like, maybe downing a character, round one, or something like that, and then using legendary actions throughout the round to, like, move them away from it, or move itself away from them, or reposition or whatnot, and then get off a breath weapon or something like that. I want this to be a bit of a nail biter of a fight, but I don't want. It's so hard to manage a fight like that because I feel like so much of managing a combat as a DM is kind of a black box. Like what you put out on the field and the way that the stat blocks run, especially if you've got characters in the party who know what they should expect from those monsters. I've got one player who's like, he's one of those like monster manual reader type of characters who likes to know stuff about the material, about the machine behind the machine, about the game itself. So he'll probably have an idea of what he's facing and like where its AC should be and where its HP should be and what its saving throws should be. So I can't fudge with that too much. Obviously, I could just say the red dragon in the monster manual is just one example of a red dragon, and my red dragon is different. This is a special red dragon. Get wrecked. But I'd like to follow in those rules so that it creates a level of verisimilitude for him. And for the other players, were like, I'm actually fighting a real red dragon, and my DM isn't pulling any punches on me. I got to do this right, and I've got to be strategic, because that is like one of the juicier parts of D&D combat to me. Is this feeling like, well, the DM can't help me now. I'm in this. All the pieces are put out, and that's sort of what I mean by it being a black box. You put in all the inputs, and then you just let it go, and the dice determine a lot of the outcome, and it just plays from there. Like, the way that I'm going to run this red dragon, is solidly possible that even with paladin auras and shit, all my characters fail their first saving throw on a breath weapon, and they're all down. Like, it's fully possible. If I can catch every single one of them in a breath weapon, and they all fail their saving throws, good likelihood that they all go down. Now, the chances of that happening are really low, especially because we've got a paladin and he's got an aura, and he might throw out bless before the dragon can get a breath weapon off and stuff like that, and maybe blah 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 blah. But it's scary. It's tough. So I vibe with you, Arborhawk. It is hard to have nothing prepped. It's also hard to prep in general. It's just tough. There's a lot of pressure on the DM to create a story that's like something to play around in. Whether you're running a campaign like a sandbox or like a railroad or like whatever, it's fucking weird and hard. It's difficult. That's part of why in my other campaign that I'm now running, again, because one of the players in my main campaign has to work a lot during the days that we want to play, and we have scheduling conflicts, so I'm running a secondary campaign for one less people. I'm running it as a fully sandboxed pirate adventure. Like, they're just on the open sea, and there's crazy shit around, and there's, like, this empire that's an empire, and they don't seem very nice, and then there are, like, awful slavers over here, and then there are more pirates over here, and rum, and pirates, and monsters, and fish people, and all sorts of things, right? So I've got all these elements and puzzle pieces to play with that I can just sort of slap a bunch of them together, and just use random encounter tables and random roll tables, either that I've created or that I find elsewhere, to figure out what happens when they decide to do whatever they want to do. But it's been really fun, and it's led to a lot of role-playing because the characters have a lot of freedom, and their decisions genuinely matter. There's no next step that I want them to get to. They're fully determining that themselves. I don't have a BBEG for the campaign. If they want to go and make their goal for that campaign be like, we want to take down the everlasting empire, well, fuck yeah, let's go do it. If they want to be like, we want to become rum lords and find a spring where magic rum like comes from the ground and make ourselves uber rich and then protect that against other pirates who will try to take it from us, sick, let's do that. Or we just want to wander the seas and take other ships and drink a lot. They can do that too. So I would say that if you are stressed a lot as a DM about prepping for campaigns, consider playing a different type of campaign. And that can be really scary to do, especially because there's a different kind of like fear, which is the fear of going in with nothing prepped. But the last session I went in with nothing prepped. Nothing. Zero. Nothing at all. Again, don't tell my characters this, don't tell my players this, but I went in with straight up, literally no prep, no notes, except my overall campaign notes, right? Like, oh, this is where shit is, these are the people who are on the boat, this is what matters, and my random roll tables. That was it. I didn't know what was going to happen next. I just started them off on the last scene, which in this case was a pretty pivotal scene. We had one of the characters, the quartermaster of the ship, being like, so we got another boat, who's going to be the captain of it? And that strikes a lot of interesting conversation. And gives them a jumping off point. But, like, nothing prepped. It's actually magical, and it's totally possible. I would also highly recommend the Lazy Game Master or the Lazy GM. is great. And many of the articles by the Angry GM, also great. Matt Colville has a video on prepping for campaigns and stuff. He's a little different. He likes harder prep, I think, than a lot of people do. He likes to make more intricate stories, and that's totally okay. Everybody's got their own style, and DMing is fun. Matthew Mercer, on the other hand, is a high prep DM as far as I can tell. I don't know how much he preps and how much he doesn't, but he's at least practiced some of his lines for sure. Like, for sure. So who knows? And he plans stuff out so well, and I complimented him so sincerely in the last episode about just how much his planning influences my DMing style, so that's cool. Okay, I'm going to move on from that comment because it ended up in a lot of discussion of my own shit and all this stuff. Let's move on. Okay, Nilesh Singh writes, react to Attack on Titan, fire emoji. No. Mercure25 writes, nailing first episodes is very tricky, so I'm usually relatively lenient toward them. Me too. Of course, if it's absolute dog shit, then I'm going to be merciless, but I'll reiterate what I said on the last video and say that I think they did a pretty good job here. I speak as someone who hasn't watched Critical Role and doesn't know much about D&D. Sure, it could have been done better, and some criticism is valid, but it still made me interested to watch more. That being said, yes, the second episode is much better. Let's put it this way. First episode made me interested, second episode hooked me, first episode made me think that I could enjoy it enough to watch it, second episode made me think that it's actually gonna be really fun, which is cool. And then he goes on to talk about not liking the 3-episode rule, or that he does like the 3-episode rule, that it's at least a background rule of thumb to watch a couple of episodes before making a total judgment on a show. Totally agree. I agree with pretty much everything here. The one thing that I would point out is that in many cases, the first episode of a show, despite it being tricky, is the place where, like, there's more budget and focus because it's tricky, and also it's the most important episode. If you can't hook people with your first episode, not everybody follows the first episode rule, self-included. And if you want me on the first one, I'm not going to want to watch more. So, of course, people making episodes know this, and so they put a lot more effort into the first one in order to hook you, and then you'll often see, like, wow, that was really cool. Ooh, big decline in quality. In this case, it's been the opposite, just because the nature of the beast, and I like this. I like this a lot. Cool comment. I appreciate it. Okay. And there are a couple more on this episode, but I'm going to jump over to episode 3 because there are a couple more that I want to talk about there. Bestial Moon writes, hot, strong, dumb heroes. So what you're saying is that a usual D&D party is usually full of himbos? Yep, himbos and herbos. I understand that a herbo is actually just a bimbo, but I don't like that word, so herbo. Also, I vote to call the Mercer-voiced side characters NPCs. I'm down. Let's do it. Also, Bestial Moon, different comment, writes, since your last reaction to Vox Machina, I have watched almost nothing but Fantasy High. I 100% agree on Brennan's style. I think the closest we get to a live play cross between Brennan's emotional and funny improv and Mercer's long play style was OG Adventure Zone. Stuff in episodes 1 and 2 pays off 50 episodes later. So, well, but in between is a lot of great gameplay and hilarity. It doesn't hold a candle to how long Mercer had stuff play out, of course, but you get the idea. Hell yeah. First off, glad you've been watching Fantasy High. It's super dope, and I highly recommend that if don't take my word for it, take Bestial Moon's word for it. It's really fun. Brennan's style is sick. It's really cool. I like it a lot. I like Matt's style a lot too. They're both very different. Brennan is so snappy and so brilliant with his improv. They're like Matt. It's crazy, right? You talk about how like Adventure Zone doesn't hold a candle to how long Mercer had his stuff play out. I don't think Matt is capable of the level of improv quality and power that Brennan is. It's just because of the nature of, like, the way that they've specialized, right? Matt's really specialized in voice acting and painting pictures and creating worldscapes and stuff. And Brennan is really specialized with rolling with the punches and being in it. Brennan's been DMing for so long, and he's DM'd for so many people that he's just, like, able to get going and make funny things and fun things happen all the time, and I love it. I love it. There is also a live play cross between Brennan and Matt, if you didn't know that. Escape from the Bloodkeep, which is all on YouTube and is only 5 or 6 episodes long. It's really short. Is really good. It's Amy Vorpal, Eric Ishii, DM'd by Brennan Lee Mulligan, Mike Trapp, Rekha Shankar, Shankar? Sorry, Rekha. I love you, Rekha, but I don't know how to say your last name. And am I forgetting somebody? I'm sure I'm forgetting somebody. My bad. If I forgot you and you're part of that show, I apologize. But Matt plays a character in it. He plays essentially one of the Nazgul. He's one of the ring wraiths or the crown. I forget what they call them. And it's all a Lord of the Rings parody thing, and it's amazing. But Matt plays a wonderful character in that, and we get to see them sort of cross over a little bit, and we get to see, honestly, Matt hit some of those improv chops that he doesn't often. At least we don't get to know when he's improving or not, right? Like, Matt's so good at it sometimes that it feels seamless. I don't know. I'm just blathering. Okay. I'm gonna move on. The snake's belt is Simon. Thank you, God. Craig Starbird. Holy shit. Thanks, man. Simon. Yes. One of the most interesting changes I'm surprised you didn't talk about was the fact that Pike was at this dinner. Right, so Ashley was working on Blind Spot, so she wasn't present. That is interesting. It is a big change, and also, like, kind of important. Having a cleric around when there is an undead man trying to murder you is big news. That's a big deal. There are things that can be done with that are important. I still have the vampire over here. Yeah, unless Matt's fucking around, they don't have turn resistance, so Pike could just be like, "Be gone, vampire," and you might have to just be gone. Still has a really high whiz save, though, I think, right? Yeah, pretty solid. Okay. And something. The change of order of events is, it changes some things. Quite cool to see Pike in that initial fight, since she didn't feel inserted after the fact. True. Did feel good, and I didn't even mention it because I kind of forgot. Also, Craig goes on to take a guess at spells that Delilah is casting. Misty Step, Shield, Chill Touch, as well as some weird spell reflection stuff that isn't really a thing, and a big final attack that also isn't really a thing. Yeah, I don't know, man. It's fine. This actually plays into another comment that I do want to talk about, which was on episode 2. Yeah. This is from Ash. I'm just going to talk about part of this comment. The first part is, you kind of brought it up as well, and I've noticed it a few times in last step and this, but sometimes you will go, quote, "That's not how that works," or "That's not a thing," etc. I think this is a pretty bad way of looking at the show and even the game, to be honest. Even though D&D is a game with game mechanics and rules, I think the kind of flavor of weak points is a good way of rationalizing stuff like critical hits or high damage rolls and making the game world feel less gamey. Yeah. I agree with this to some extent. I think there's a lot of leeway depending on your DMing style and the style that you want to be playing at the table. I think there are tables that swing really hard toward, like, tactics and the mechanics of the game, and there are also tables that swing really hard toward, like, role-playing things out and making everything feel more fluid and more, like, creating verisimilitude and stuff, and I think most tables are somewhere in the middle. Personally, I like the granular stuff. I like talking about the game mechanics, and partly that's because I'm a mechanics head. It's part of why I became a DM, is because I wanted to read the book and understand how everything worked, right? Like, I wanted to understand all those things. So, kind of just me with my angle, I'd love to see more stuff where I'm like, "Oh, that was a reaction shield," and then we see, like, a moment where the character gets hit by something because they're not able to use their shield in that moment, right? Like, that kind of stuff tracks for me because I live psychologically and mentally partly in the game world that I've invested my time into, like, living in, and I see monsters as, like, bags of hit points with attacks and certain actions and various stat blocks, right? Like, this is because I'm broken. The reason that I do that is because I'm broken, not because I'm right, okay? So your criticism is super effective, and I agree with it to a major extent. You're not wrong. I like flavoring things more than not, but yeah, okay. Anyway, I just wanted to mention that. And there are a couple more. Kitty Fairy writes, "I have zero problem with the extended talking at the start." Sweet, because we're almost 20 minutes in, and that's great. Especially if it involves this kind of back and forth discussion. Awesome. I'll watch when interested, and if not interested, sometimes it's simple to just skip to the point in the video where the episode starts and skip to that. Exactly as you said toward the end, yes. That being said, it might be helpful to add chapter splits for episode start and finish times. Is that tricky or fiddly? I've never done YouTube uploading myself, so I'm unsure. I'm also not sure. I've never used the feature. I'm going to find out today. Especially for episode finish times on other videos where, for example, I'm watching the PIP version and want to come back to this version to see the post-episode analysis. Yeah, no, I've been relying on my lovely commenters to drop comments letting people know when the thing ends and starts. I should make the chapter things work. It's so much more efficient. I'll figure it out. You're right, Kitty Fairy. I'm just lazy and resistant to change, like, humans. Sorry. Okay, and Bill DeWitt. Hi again. You've been making some good comments, Bill. Good job. Good stuff. This is much more interesting to me, plot and character-wise. I'm not sure I necessarily agree with the notion that things feel more organic. As I was watching, I didn't really pick up on any noticeable difference in that respect, except maybe from Percy, but that's because he was pretty underdeveloped in the initial episodes, and his vibe sort of felt like it clashed with the rest of the setting. It does. He's kind of a steampunky magic shooter boy in a high fantasy setting. Yeah, he invented guns, dude. He invented them. Like, that's the thing. He's an iconoclast. He's a breaker of shit. And he's gonna be a breaker of more shit. Yeah, the organicness to me comes through a lot in the way that the dialogue flows. Especially around that table, during that table sequence. It felt more tense. And that tension at the table when we're actually watching Critical Role is one of the coolest things that happens, right? We see it all throughout both campaigns, but there are real moments where what the characters are doing, thinking, and saying in the moment at the table is exactly what their characters are doing, and they're talking to somebody who Matt is playing, who is going to react to their moves in a critical way, or, in a critical role. Bah. Kill me now. Take me out, fam. Take me out right now. But I did feel like the last episode was more organic. It really did feel better to me. It felt like characters were making decisions that were in character, and those character decisions were leading to the next steps in sort of the D&D loop, as opposed to being a thing that was written out with everybody acting their parts. Does that make sense? Right? D&D is collaborative storytelling. Storytelling is telling a story where all the pieces move in ways that makes them all come to, like, some useful conclusion. Dungeons and Dragons doesn't necessarily do that. It does it organically because each player is in control of their character, and the DM is in control of the reactions to those characters, and through the back and forth between them and the desires of each player and the desires filtered through the desires of each character, you create a tapestry of story that weaves together in a complicated and organic way. And that's what I feel happening in episode 3 that I didn't feel happening in episodes 1 and 2, because of course episodes 1 and 2 are written, right? Like, all the characters are doing the things that they need to do for the story to move forward. And so a lot of the things that they do feel more narratively convenient than anything, like Vax with the kids, or Scanlan with the line about the dragon, or everybody goes and they find the sad thing and then they get sad and then they get angry and they go do the thing, right? Like, they all sort of act in unison in a way. Even if they're acting independently and showing off their character, really they're all acting toward the point of the story, as opposed to acting in the ways that they want to act, which creates the story. It's reverse engineered, right? Anyway, that's my difference. Bill goes on to write, "You seem to really love the Briarwoods, but I haven't really felt anything strong toward them yet. It'll be interesting to see if what makes them so good to viewers of the original source gets translated well to new viewers in the show. Me too, baby. I'd really like to know if they can nail them. I think that they can, and I'm very excited by it. But again, that's one of the circumstances that we talked about at the beginning of last episode, which is that, like, I already know these characters. I've spent time with them. I know where they're going. I know what's up. And you don't. And so, like, when I see the character, I impart all of that background knowledge upon them, and it's really tough to separate that from just what I've already seen, right? It's tough. I'm very interested in how things with Percy are going to continue, though. I love this sort of character who has their own goals, which will sometimes cause them to take actions which are bad for the party as a whole. Yes. His whole character with the glasses and the guns and the mask gives me a sort of gothic steampunk vibe. Nailed it. Which I really like, although it is a bit odd for what is mostly a classic fantasy setting. Yes, it is. Again, he invented guns. We haven't really gotten into that a lot, but Percival de Fuchstein von Musak de Rogo, Percival Frederickstein von Musel de Rollo III, is the inventor of the firearm, and also, as far as I know, gunpowder. Although he does go and find gunpowder elsewhere later. But I think he invented both. No, he invented the firearm. They have arcane cannons. But he invented guns, like revolvers and sniper rifles, which is insane. But it is the way that they did it, and it has imbalanced the gunslinger class forever, because if you play a Matt Mercer gunslinger, you can just get a 2d12 ranged weapon with a range of like 800 feet, no problem, man, just boom! Now there's a balance to it, you have to reload it and stuff, but it's still busted. It's still broke as fuck, man. So if you wanna make a really powerful, like, first round character, go for like 3 levels of rogue into assassin, 5 levels of gunslinger. Actually, any number of levels in a gunslinger, but 5 is good because it gets you extra attack, and that's really good. And if you want to get really crazy, you can drop 3 levels into Gloomstalker Ranger, And then your first attack, your first round, pick up sharpshooter at some point. Your first round is like 6d12 plus violent shots plus a d8 from hunter from gloomstalker plus 2d6 from sneak attack plus I mentioned violent shot but violent shot which adds more d12s. And then you can add sharpshooter to it if you want to, because you're attacking with advantage. And all 3 attacks auto crit because it's a surprise round because you're an assassin. So it ends up being like an average of 180 damage or some bullshit at level, what did I say, 533, level 11, which blows Pure Fighter out of every fucking water. It's just nuts. Of course, it slopes off because that's just your first round burst, and you're noving all of your your grit points and shit into it. But goddamn, it's some damage. It's fucked up. It's really not okay. Oh yeah, and if you have like other feats, you can fucking boom boom boom, boom, bam, and action surge and get more. Oh my, brutal, 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 brutal. Anyway, sorry. One other small thing that I really liked was how the light on Grog and Silas changes as he's swinging around his glowy axe. Yes, it's very cool. And loved Pull My Beads of Love. Yeah, okay. 2 side notes. I really like the reading of comments. While I'm primarily here to see a reaction analysis, it is interesting to hear what the community is feeling about it, and you're part of the community, so thanks, Bill. Yeah, me too. I like reading the comments. It's also, I've noticed that, I don't know if this is just because it's Vox Machina and people care, or if it's because I've been doing the comment spotlight things. I think it's because of the comment spotlight things. There are more comments and they're better. I like good comments. YouTube's algorithms like good comments too. Keep making good comments, everybody. I'll read them. It's fun. And number 2, I wasn't upset about you spoiling Krieg was the dragon. You did, after all, indicate that the first reaction probably spoil stuff, but in the discussion of episode 2, you indicated that you thought it was pretty obvious, and I was just disagreeing with that sentiment, because I don't think it would have been obvious to me. Super fair. I mean, they put in a misdirect with Fints or whatever, and so that was an effective misdirect, I suppose. So definitely I did spoil it, but I also warned you that I'd be spoiling stuff, so sorry. Okay, and I think that's it for comments. We're only 32 minutes into recording. Okie dokie then. That was the longest one so far. These might just keep getting longer. And honestly, I'm okay with that if you are. I'll put the little thingies in and you can just skip around. Cool? Cool. Okay, let's turn our attention to the real matter at hand. We've done all our recap. We've done all our talking. I talked about what I'm doing tomorrow in D&D. Everything is good. Let's watch Legend of Vox Machina. I don't know why I'm Sean Connery right now. Episode 4. This is the aftermath of the big battle. We just fought a bunch of people. Uriel just ran outside and saw that we just fought his, invited guests, and nobody's very happy about that. Bad things are afoot for Vox Machina. How will they get out of this situation? Let's find out. As before, there will be one version of this reaction. It'll be timer-based. I've got subtitles on it, so it's easy. Beep, beep, timer to count you down. Let's get straight into it. Beep, beep, beep. Iman. Yeah. 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 Whoops. Oh, was that an NPC? Well. Thank you, Allura. Thank you, based Allura. Thank you, based Allura. Oh, yeah, he looks great. Vax is looking dope. Yeah, it is. No. Nah. But, yeah. I love Allura so much. Her voice is so fucking sick. Allura! Alright, easy peasy. Good question, Grog. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, well, or if your messenger ever comes back and... Aha, where'd it go? So this isn't a thing. Yeah. This wasn't introduced until now. Like, this is not a thing, but it's great. Details of what? Our plans. Hee 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 ha 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 ha. Ooh, OP. I'm gonna. Sorry, one sec. My nose was getting all stuffy, and so I wanted to stop that. Okay? Okay. That shadow for one frame, baby. Woo! What up, buddy? My boy, my friend, my fam. None of you know what I'm talking about unless you've seen it, and you know exactly what I'm talking about. Hi, buddy. Who's a good shadow? You're a good shadow. Keyleth looks so great in so many of these shots. It really does. Oh, buddy. Who's a big boy? What the? Well. Huh. Who's that voice actor? That's not Carrie, is it? Again? No. Maybe. There's not much here. It's kind of empty. Yeah, Pike and her symbol. Are we gonna have Pike, like, go off to fix that? Wait, also, didn't that break during the... Yeah, that broke during the Kvarn stuff. Oh. Cool. Yay! Cute. Aw, we did a little snippety thing. No. They don't do that. Mm. Mm. Let's not do that. True. Mikey! Pickle! Deeply shrouded in darkness a little bit. Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I'm a fucking bard, dude. A lore bard. Oh, yep. Nice. Okay, Pickle, you okay? You put on a weird mask and got all spooky. What's up with that? Hmm. Yeah, what was that, Percy? No. It was more like shadow. It's a pretty hardline morality. Forfeit. Your life is forfeit. Mm. Mm. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Ooh, I recognize some people. And where is she? Yeah. No. Get him. Get him. Yeah. Ooh. Spooky. Ooh. God. They need corpses. Are they about to get an army? Uh-oh. Yeah. That's bad. Skellingtors? Cool, dude. Nice chant. Hmm. Like secret passages. Can she cast light? Hmm. No. No. Oh, that's convenient. Fuck. Shit. Oh, they're in the temple. Fine. I decided. Yeah. Didn't like how that cut looked, but that's okay. Backstory. Is that worse? Yeah, sure. Temptation to run. Well, loyalty? Beautiful. Ruh-roh. Ruh-roh. Oh, buddy. Oh, poor guard. Oh, poor buddy. He'll be fine. Mm. Sarenrae? This is cool. Nothing. Hi, Gurg. Fair enough. Fully puts his head in the box. No. Grog, that's a person. Oh, pickle. Hmm. Facts and logic. Oh. Good, good. Hmm. Wisdom from an idiot. Oh, sure that this guy's gonna be fine too. Hmm? What was that? Ew. Oh, buddy. Oh, buddy. Oh, what the fuck? Ugh. Nope. What the fuck? I don't even have an idea what those are. Vampire spawn? Probably spawn. What's up? Ah, that's what's up. Oh, I see. Tinker, tinker. Mm-hmm. I'm not listening. Hey. Or die. Yeah, because of the dying part. Or get trapped on an island. Oh, Kiki. Yeah, but you can't fucking feel it. Mm-hmm. Heavy. Man, we got mixing and matching this heavy stuff with the lighter stuff in a really cool way. And this is just new. Oh boy. Drinker. Yep, okay. Oh, no. Oh, that's not a vampire spawn. What the fuck is happening? Do it. Do it. Yeah. Yeah. No, but oh god, damn it, Skellin. What even is that? Butter? Honey? What is it? Mayonnaise? Hey. Yeah, we don't have claws, man. Hey, can we have your swords? Please? Oh, we're gonna have to give the book back. Oh. Oh. I don't like that. Scanlan! Yeah. Let's go, Vex. Oi. Oh, sure. That's one choice. Ow. No. Yay. I actually really like the color scheme of this, like, nighttime vibe. Oh, a little shout out. Very cool. Oh, it's their table. Oh, that's so great. That's so cute. Yeah, you're bleeding out the eyes, girl. Why, thank you. Ew. Yeah. Yeah, come on. Kiki? Kiki? Kiki, stop doing that. We could really use a pike right now. Right now. Again, Grog feels so swingy and big. It's great. Oh, they are incorporeal partly. Are these shadows? Oh, or wraiths. Seriously. Ooh, fire. Ugh. Ugh. Blood on the... Ooh. Good job, Captain. Wait. That's not that boy, right? Nah. You can do it, Pike. You can, Pike. Oh, God. Ruh-roh. Well, we're all gonna die. No pressure. Oh. Sunbeam? Rad. Double rad. Theme song. Yeah. That was a couple more daggers than you have, my guy, but I'm okay with it. Okay, Percival von Musel Kowalski Dorolo III does not have the strength to do that. It's brilliant. It's great, but no chance. Ooh, ah, ooh, ah, ah, oi, ah, ooh, ah, yeah, ah, oh, okay. That's one definition of catharsis. Good job, Kiki. Ew. So, you think we got proof yet? Fuck. Yeah. I have expected, and you have my sword. But okay, sweet. Thanks, dude. Who are you? What is name? Sure thing, my guy. What is name? Oh, the table's broken. No. I wonder if they'll get a new table that's the new table. How fun would that be? Yeah, so are we. Yeah. Duh. Sure, yeah. No secrets. Easy. No prob. No problem. No secrets. Hello. And into the sunrise we go. To Whitestone. And away. Pickle. She's gonna leave. Yeah. Going Vasselheim. Gotta fix some stuff. Gotta show up in a more fun way. I'm actually very glad. It's like my favorite scene in all of campaign 1, and this makes sure that we can make it happen. I know you don't understand what I'm talking about. I dig it. Nope, they need you, Grog. They need you. They need you. They need the big boy. Yep, they need you. Yep. Ashley, you will always be in our blind spot. Aww. This is good. This is the first time I've felt Pickle and Grog like what they really are, because they're like siblings, right? They're family. And we finally get to feel some of that. Oh, we're gonna get all our goodbyes? Fuck you, show. No. Ah, that's cute. Oh, Grog. And Scanlan. Yeah. Love a boy, love a boy. Off on your own road, Pike. Bye-bye. She'll be back. Fiend. Pretty well executed. Yeah. I'm happy. Cool. Okay, well, there goes episode 4 of Legend of Vox Machina. I do like this episode quite a bit for different reasons than I've liked previous episodes. I think one thing is that I've gotten used to the art style and the production quality, so it just doesn't bother me at this point, even a little bit. There are like 1 or 2 scenes. I think it was one where like Vax and Vex are talking or something, where just the character movement didn't feel super amazingly awesome to me, but it didn't need to. It was just I saw through the matrix and I saw like characters move and then click into place. I was like, okay, they just walked into the place where they're supposed to be in frame. And I'm like seeing the storyboard turn into an animatic, turn into an animation here. Yeah, it's actually right here. Is this moment where these two characters are moving in space, right? And they just sort of shift into their position, and then they click in, and Vex locks in and stops moving completely, and then the camera moves. Lock moves just a little bit, and Vex locks in, and then Vex moves again. And it's just a moment where I start to see between the lines, right? And maybe you don't see that, and that's totally fine. In fact, I kind of envy you. But sometimes I'll see a scene in animation, I'll be like, oh, I see all the layers. Okay. Cool. And that it's not necessarily bad, it just takes me out of it. What I'm trying to say is that has been happening less and less because I'm more used to the way that everything looks, and so it's fine. It is good. It is good. Production quality is remaining about the same as we go through. And it's good enough. I'm not going to complain about it anymore unless there are egregious cases of like bad stuff. Or on the other side, I'm not going to compliment it very much anymore unless there are incredible cases of really cool stuff, in which case I'd love to point those out. But for now, production quality's been pretty consistent over the last couple of episodes, and it's enough. It's enough. There are a couple of moments in this episode that I think land really well because of the production. I really actually like the dark, faded color scheme of this entire battle. It gives us that feeling of despair, of darkness, of death, of all of the bad things that are coming for us. And then we contrast that with once Keyleth actually lights up her flaming ball of flaminess, everything is glowing and golden and beautiful, and we get this lovely scene at the end of her standing glowing, with everybody else framing that. And, I mean, it's gratuitous with the violence and the like, smash, 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 on rhythm, on beat, like, smash, 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 smash. It's a little much, but at the same time, God, these things just almost fucking killed us. I want them dead now, and I want them dead again. So it works. It's, again, I said it while it happened, but that's a way to do catharsis, and this works. Works just fine. So I like this scene. I like the contrast between this and the darkness that comes before. I think it's good. I like the use of lighting to tell that bit of the story. And I think, again, I think it's good. I will also say that, as was mentioned in some of the comments, Pickle wasn't here at this point. She just wasn't here at all. She was already gone because Ashley was recording Blind Spot. She comes back later at times that we'll talk about when they happen. But she wasn't here at all. So we kind of, like, there are two options. Either we retcon Pickle and Pike into the rest of the first portion of the Briarwood arc, or we don't. And if we don't, then we need to find a reason for her to leave. If I recall correctly, the original reason that we came up with for her to leave was that her symbol got broke when she was down. They were down in the Undermountain, or not the Undermountain, the Underdark. And so she went off to Vasselheim to fix that shit, which is kind of exactly what we're doing here. We're just doing it without having to backtrack in the story to go back to Kavarn and stuff, which works. I'm a fan of it. It also gives us a chance to, partly because of what the guards do and partly because of just the way the story goes, characters in, and this is a huge difference that I've noticed between Critical Role and my table, and one that I'm trying to work on encouraging my characters to do. In Critical Role, the players pull each other aside constantly. And what I mean by that is they'll say, "Oh, do we have a moment? If so, I want to pull Vex aside and talk for a second." Or Keyleth will say, "Can I pull Percy aside? And or where's Percy at? He's working in his room? I want to go into his workshop and talk to him." And then we'll get these one-on-one conversations where our characters can reveal more about themselves and the players can reveal more about their characters, and they can talk about things that have happened in the game. For example, Keyleth is a little bit suspicious of Percy right now. He did a weird thing with some shadow and smoke and stuff, and we bring that up at the table with everybody around, but then we bring it up a little bit later in the workshop, and more comes out about both the characters as they share more about each other. That, to me, is part of the thing that feels organic. Now, it's not really organic because, again, it's copying the idea that was present in the game, but that feeling of characters pulling each other aside and trying to worm out details of each other's lives and use, like, exchanges of information in the way that real humans do, like reciprocal exchanges of personal information in order to gain trust and grow a relationship and build something like that and build a friendship. That's what happens in game when your characters pull each other aside and have those conversations. And those conversations are some of the coolest parts of Critical Role, because they give the characters, the players, a chance to really shine in their role-playing and also in their philosophizing a little bit, and to demonstrate what they as players really believe should be the goals of the party and the goals of each other and their own characters' goals and all that stuff. All of that sort of comes out in those more intimate moments. And so the fact that we get a bunch of those intimate moments in this episode is my highlight for the episode. And it feels to me like a massive jump in terms of characterization, because there's actually a lot of characterization. We go from sort of episode 1 characterization, which I talked about during episode 1 and a little bit during episode 2, where it feels like we're kind of just like panning through the cast and each character does their line at the time, and it's like Scanlan does a funny, Keyleth does a clumsy, Grog does a big, Pike does a sweet, right? Like, each character does a thing that is emblematic of their character, and that's all they do because that's characterization. But that's not really characterization. Characterization is how the people act, and now we see them how they act, and we see how they talk to each other, and we see how they interact, and we start to see the tapestry of relationships that are forming and have already formed between them. We realize, even though it's not explicit at the moment, that Grog and Pike are close, like closer than close, and we understand how their relationship works, where Grog is a simpleton. He has an intelligence of 6, but he's also, in a weird way, kind of wise in that way that sometimes people who don't overthink things think in, like, straighter lines than people who are smarter. So things like, have you tried asking Sarah and Ray telling her you're sorry, is so sweet and simple from Grog, but also it demonstrates his mentality, which is this flip switch child who is also a murder monster, which is great. And that's exactly what we love about Grog, right? Likewise, we get moments from Vax and Vex where they consider leaving, and Vex, they ask each other, so why haven't we left yet? Well, but they haven't, and they don't have an answer for that, and they don't really answer it. And they don't get to because they get interrupted, but that's an important moment, right? The idea that they could leave if they wanted to, that they're not stuck here, that they could sneak out and just run, is very real and very present. So why don't they? Just the fact of the question answers something about the characters, right? Even if they don't know the answer completely. Is it loyalty? Is it friendship? Is it hope? Is it being stuck in a rut? Is it all of the above? Who knows? But it's something, and that's more intriguing than nothing, right? Way more intriguing than nothing. Like, maybe infinitely so, you know? But I feel like we get that for basically every character in this episode, minus maybe Scanlan. Scanlan does some, like, funny stuff in this episode, and I think that matches how Scanlan is played, how Sam plays Scanlan, is like, I'm just fucking here, and that leads to some very interesting things later, obviously, but, Sam shines in different places than some of the other cast does, and in this particular episode, Scanlan is sort of out of frame a lot, and that's okay. Or he's in frame eating a big sandwich, right, which isn't, like, characterization, but he's still being that happy-go-lucky guy until shit gets whack. And being the clown. I think we should highlight that, right? Sam, the player, and Scanlan, the character, are both poignantly aware of what they are doing and what role they play in the party. Scanlan is the clown, and he knows it. And this is a really important thing to know about the character moving forward. He knows that he's a clown. He knows that he actively tries not to take part in a lot of the serious discussions. But we see hints of it, like the dragon comment with the loot. Thinking of a rhyme for dragon, because we're gonna go fucking kill one. He's also paying attention to everything, and he's also going and helping them and figuring out where they go next, and all these other things that he's doing. But for a lot of the scenes, when stuff is going on and characters are making decisions, Sam takes a step back and lets things just play out the way that they play out. I think that's really interesting to be aware of going forward. Okay, I also really like this moment. It's so understated. Vax just turns around and sees Keyleth making a flower and is like, oh, cute. Oh, and it's very cute. Okay. Grog does a thing. We worry about Vax being a vampire. He's not turning into a vampire. In the real campaign, they go in for they find a priest and they put some leaves on it and they're like, you'll be fine, man. You're not turning into a vampire. And of course, Pickle in a corner being sad. So this is easy stuff. We just put the lighting down in the corner and we put that on her face and make her all sad looking, and yeah, nailed it. And it works real good. Also, Pickle is the one that you want reading that book. Because religion. But no. I love this. I love this. Very gifable. Honestly, super reminds me of Hibiki. But, the opposite. because the opposite. All right, we need to talk. What the fuck was that? Smoking stuff. And Percy tells us his story. All of it. Some of it. Most of it. So, hold up. There's a distinct lack of one particular person here. Unless I'm wrong and it's her. That's probably what's up, huh? Yeah, it's probably her, right? With the bow. Oh, for sure it's her with the bow. Percy hasn't invented guns yet. Okay. Yeah. I can see that. Also, ultra obviously unimportant are this guy, and significantly more obviously important are this guy and this guy. Right? Like, duh. Hey, look, character designs, no character designs. I wonder if these guys matter. They don't. I wonder if these guys matter. They do. Did it, done it, good. Very cool. I also really like the aesthetic of some of these scenes. They're a little sketchy, but it makes it kind of feel like memory to me. You know, like some of the lines on these banisters are wrong. Like this line is actually wrong. I think. I don't know how it's supposed to be built. I'm looking at the one on the other side. No, it's wrong. It's wrong. There should be a line of shadow here to create a three-dimensional object. That's fine. It does make it feel a little sketchy, which is cool. And then we fade into this stuff. And I really like the edge lighting, this stuff. These little highlights that give us the outlines and shapes of the horrors that we're seeing. I think it's really good. It's how you might remember it in memory. Also, the tutor and that guy. Yikes. What a creep. Running and Cassandra's dead. Oh no. Sorry, Cassandra. Yikes. Okay, so none of this stuff happens. In campaign, the Briarwoods run away. We do a different mission to prove ourselves for Uriel, and then we go off to find the Briarwoods, right? Something like that. And we just arrive in Whitestone. They never attack us again with wraiths and whites and stuff? Not really. I don't think so. Maybe a little bit? I don't remember. Shit. In any case, this is still really cool. This whole scene of Delilah doing this shit, nuts. I also really like the scene. I think it's cool. I think the chanting is neat. I think the made-up language that they do is nice and spooky. The veins and shit and the classic necromancy are all really cool, and we know something's coming, and that sets up for what's going to happen next, and I like it a lot. I also really like this little reveal that's like, hey, hi, we're waiting for you. Fuck, god damn it. More of those conversations we talked about that I think are really good, and Scanlan eating a thing. I also like this monster setup. This tells me... Ooh, right, and Pickle. I like this sequence. Honestly, reminds me more of Yasha than of Pickle, just because of how dark it is. But it's super cool and super ethereal and weird, and it really clearly shows us what's going on and her emotional struggle to reconnect to her goddess. This is a cool thing. It works. It's a core part of the character. It's a sensible part of the story moving forward. I like it a lot. I also like that it leads us into finding out more about Grog and Pike, and how much they care about each other. It's really lovely. And of course, he eats her ashes because, god damn it, Grog, he'll eat anything. Bloody gory. So this stuff. This is great horror. I really truly believe that. I think this is well done horror. We stay so far away from really showing what these monsters are. They act in ways that are unpredictable. They're spooky. They come out of nowhere. They're in the darkness. It hits all these marks. We see little bits of hints of things before things actually start to happen, which leads to tension build. And we murder a bunch of characters in really unique ways. It's great. Also, these undead are clearly incorporeal and are clearly doing necrotic damage. So I'm going to say they're probably wraiths or specters. Something like that. I don't know. I love Percy's workshop. It's super cool. That's it. Also love how he just is not able to take in any of what Keyleth is really saying. But he does exactly what Taliesin will do in this situation, is he deflects in a weird way. There's a world of difference between your quest and mine, but you are worthy, and I believe in you, right? But there's a world of difference. Okay, spooky shit, dead men, bad juju, everybody into this one room. What's going on? That's going on. Ruh-roh. And it's brutal. I mean, over the top brutal, but we kind of have come to expect that. The whole, like, ram your body across a ceiling while your eyes bleed out and you puke blood out of your mouth and face. Rough. But the right kind of rough, I think. It really is. That's the tension of D&D. Like, death is on the line. It doesn't matter what you're fighting. If they're little goblins or zombies or whatever, death is on the line. You might not survive this encounter. And they actually, I think, nailed that feeling in this episode. Now, of course, we know there are more episodes. We're in a piece of media where that's not necessarily the case, but imagine this as a D&D game, and this is a scary fight. If things don't play out the way that they play out, this goes bad. Really bad. And they get the book. That's pretty cool. I like it a lot. I also really like this little shout out. Scanlan lands on a table. We see that it is that particular table. And for those who don't know, that is exactly what the Critical Role table looked like throughout Campaign 1. I believe this is the table that was made for them by Wormwood Gaming. And it's gorgeous and it's beautiful. And it's this big shield-shaped table that they sat around for a long, long time. I believe Matt would sit in the little divot here is his space. So he's right in the middle of everybody and like has his screen around him. And it's just so rad. It's so rad. I'm jelly. We've got a nice table. Like it's just a table, right? But it's a big wooden table. But, gosh, custom D&D table. One day when I am wealthy, never gonna happen. And that's okay. I don't need to be wealthy. I just need to survive long enough to watch more anime. That's my whole goal in life. Please allow that to happen and we're good. Spooky, scary stuff is spooky and scary and bad and scary. The whole incorporeal, like, hands through your chest and then re-solidify thing is great. It's so creepy. I hate it and I love it. Fire, flame, Pike can't do the thing. Keyleth can. Dope scene. I don't know what she's supposed to be doing mechanically, Visually, it's excellent, though. This is one of those situations where it's like, what spell is that? Nothing works this way, is not the thing that I want to say here. I don't care what spell it is. I don't care if she's pretending to be casting Flaming Spear and I'm like, it doesn't work that way. Or if this is, in fact, Sunbeam, which kind of does work that way in a way. I mean, it's concentration, it causes sunlight, it's a beam of sunlight. I think Keyleth is capable of casting it right now at her current level. She might be one level away. No, she's more than one level away. Sunbeam's higher level than I thought it was. Or wait, no. They're higher level now because we skipped some. How are we dealing? It doesn't matter. They don't really care. And honestly, I don't really care either. I don't care what spell she's casting. It works in the situation, and it's a cool visual expression of what is happening here. That Keyleth is coming into her power, that she's able to find the will within herself to make this shit happen, and for the second time in a couple of fights, really save everybody's asses. Kiki's pretty important to the party in terms of being a powerful utility caster and blaster. Like, yeah, she's really important to the party. She's their main full caster. There's Pike, who's a cleric, but Pike isn't there all the time, and stuff. Scanlan, of course, is a full caster too. He's a bard, but more utility. Kiki's important. Really important. Also, with Pike out of the picture, core healer. Really important. Although I do think Scanlan probably heals more than she does, just with healing word and stuff. Total, all told. But, whatever. It doesn't matter. I like this scene. I think it works really well. I think it's really pretty. And putting Keyleth at the center of everything works pretty effectively for me. It's just good. All right, the beatdown occurs, and again, it's a little over the top, but cathartic in a fun way. And boom, we did it, and we earned this guy's trust. I do wonder who is this guy? Who this be? Who'd that be? Who be that? I'm gonna do a Google. Guard Captain Vox Machina 4. That's my Google search. Guard Captain Vox Machina 4. Oh, it is Jarrett. Okay, well, there we go. I was wondering if that was that guy, and it is. Neat. Ooh, I should have... Let me open that tab back up. Who voice act? Who make act voice? Eugene Bird. Who be Eugene Bird? Oh, he looks just like him. He's a few people and a few other things. I don't recognize him. That's fine. Is voice actor, not anime, mostly. Cool. Good for him, and good job on that voice. Definitely put in like it's hard to place it for me because I'm not super versed in it, but like an African style of accent placed upon the voice. And I think it works pretty well for this character, who I believe comes from Ank'Harel, right? So that's interesting. I guess maybe Ank'Harel has that kind of a vibe to it. I always thought of Ank'Harel as like more... No, I guess kind of like North African, sort of like a melting pot of all sorts of different central cultures, almost like Middle Eastern in a way. That was how I always saw Ank'Harel, but that's just me. And it's obviously a multicultural megalopolis. So cool. We'll find out if we ever get there. Probably not in the next few episodes. Probably gonna be a little bit of a while, but that's okay. Cool. And we're off. So, cool episode, lots of character development in a way that I think is really effective in this one, and all of it is pointed and poignant and good, and is done in a way that I think really captures some of the spirit of the table talk at Critical Role, the way that the characters pull each other aside and actually have these deep conversations one-on-one, and how that plays into the tapestry of all these characters going their own directions and like self-motivating in their different ways is the core of everything, and I think they really nailed it. I think it's the closest thing to what actually happens at the table that we've gotten in Legend of Vox Machina, and it's my favorite thing about Vox Machina so far. Straight up, is the thing that I think they've emulated best about the table. That's not to say that if they were to emulate more things about table gameplay that it would be better, but this one thing, if there was one thing to choose, it would have to be the way that the characters talk to each other, because so much of the story comes out of that. I can't count the number of episodes where an hour goes by with Matt just sitting there, smiling, listening, watching, interjecting to, when he's asked a question or whatever. Goes back, sits, smiles, watches. Yeah, you can go find him in his room. He's up there. Sits, smiles, watches, shuffles his notes. Those are the best episodes of Critical Role. Not because I don't want Matt talking, not because the battle scenes are any different or any worse, but because characters playing with the other characters is my favorite thing. And it's my favorite thing as a DM, too, is to be able to sit back and just let my characters play their characters against each other. And if I don't have to interject in that or prompt them or push them in any direction or whatever, then it means they're in the world and they're invested and they're playing their characters and they're in it. And the game plays itself for a little while. And then a lull will hit, and then I'll make a roll behind the table, and my characters will be like, what's he rolling for? I'll be like, oh, look, some monsters came up and they tried to kill you, and now we have a different thing to do. And that sparks everything going again in a cycle, right? But those moments are really cool, and I think this episode captured them in a really good way. So, big thumbs up from me there. Excellent. So, Legend of Vox Machina Episode 4. Honestly, I think it continues to be a pretty steady climb. Episodes 1 and 2 have their flaws, have their qualities, are good enough, no prob. Episodes 3 and 4, knocking it out of the park, baby. And I am excited to see where we go from here. So off we go, headed toward Whitestone for vengeance and glory, maybe, and to prove ourselves, to right wrongs against us and to clear our names and to find out what's going on in Percival's homeland. And I think that's where we're going to get next episode, which is very, very exciting. Okay, that's going to be it. Thanks for watching. Really appreciate it. If you want early access to the next week's episode, it'll be up on the Patreon. Check that out in the description. And thank you very much for watching. I will see you next week for more Legend of Vox Machina. Bye. Peace.